Hello and welcome back to another episode of City Skylines 2. In this video, we're going to begin to flesh out this area of our city a little bit more so we can bring more services into this neighborhood, and I think we might even get to setting up our first transit loops in this video. So if we take a look here in our transportation tab, we really only have buses unlocked at the moment, and it also looks like maybe some taxis. So that's probably what we'll stick with. I don't think we need a train or anything crazy just yet. So we'll get to that once we're finished expanding for a little bit. Alright, so we've expanded out our grid just a little bit, and I think starting here, we'll want to start connecting it back up to this road out here. And if we can get it to line up as best we can, just like that, we can now have access off of this road, and this whole plot can just be for the college and maybe some services if there's some extra space laying around here. So again, looking at our demand, it looks like we need some commercial zoning in here. So I think we'll place some along this street. And I think we'll only go out about that far for now. We'll see how much the demand goes down from that. And then I want to fill in these spaces with higher density housing, but we just don't have that unlocked yet. Or we don't have any demand for it yet, I should say. And I'm not too sure where we can fit more low density housing. Maybe we can get some more running along this side of the road. We'll see what happens as we continue to expand out this grid. Alright, so I think this is about as much as we're going to grid out for now, and we can then start to fill in this space. And I think we will do some low density residential sort of right here on the backs of all these commercial buildings, and I think maybe even on the inner side of this plot for the college, and maybe even just some of these blocks so that they fill in and deal with the demand. Hopefully later on when we unlock high density or medium, or we get more medium density, we can swap these out, but I think for now we just need to appease the demand before we can really get what we want. So now one thing I want to do is just come in here and check all of our services and make sure we're keeping up with everything. It looks like we need to begin to deal with our garbage processing, and that's because our landfill is pretty much just filling up with trash and it's not really doing anything with it. So let's come into our progression panel and the development tree, and let's unlock either the recycling center or the incinerator plant. And I think we'll go with the recycling center. And let's see if we can try to get that plopped over here. So it doesn't look like we can fit it on that side of the road, but we can fit it right here, which I don't think looks too terrible. It's not too close to this street, so we'll leave that as so. If we need to upgrade this later though, we will have to make sure that we aren't encroaching to this area so that people don't start to complain about pollution or noise or anything like that coming from the recycling center. And while we're over here, I think I want to create maybe a buffer between this commercial strip and our industrial area here. So we'll do that with some trees. If we come into our landscaping tools and find trees, and we'll just grab a brush, and 50% brush strength is probably good. we'll just come in here and drag this across, get some trees in there, and we'll mix it up and use a few different types, like so. And then we'll just grab some of these green bushes and use those to fill in all of the leftover space. Alright, so we'll leave this area like this. All of these trees do start off as young and small as possible. I suppose that's so we can't cheat through the forestry industry by just painting a bunch of trees. So this will take some time to grow in, but I think once it grows in, we'll have a nice barrier here between our industry and the rest of our city over this way. So if we come back into our garbage management infographic, we can see we're still struggling with garbage processing, and that's just because the recycling center isn't the best at handling that. An incinerator plant would be much more efficient at dealing with that, but because the recycling center does less pollution and everything, it doesn't handle garbage as quickly as the incinerator plant. So I think another way we can help manage this garbage processing speed is by selecting our landfill and looking at some of these upgrades. We can see this garbage truck depot doesn't really do much other than just adding more garbage trucks. And this hazardous waste collection point, we can see at the bottom there, right next to the upkeep, it has a processing capacity of 1.1 tons per month. That's not a huge upgrade, but I think that might just help out a little bit. So we'll place that down, and I don't think that looks too great on the landfill here. So let's see if maybe there's a way we can get rid of that. So I don't think there's a way we can delete just the upgrade, so unfortunately we're gonna have to bulldoze the entire thing and place a landfill back down in this area. So I think we'll actually place the landfill right about here, allowing for some space on this side for some of the upgrades. And then we'll just have to, well, I guess we accidentally went the wrong way, but we'll just come in here, select this, and we'll have to drag the edge of this around so we can expand our capacity. So we can go with something like this for the landfill, and then we can throw our upgrade right here on this side of the landfill. So this definitely isn't a permanent solution, as you can see by those graphs, but we're definitely handling it better for now. So in the future we'll come back here and maybe figure out a better way to deal with it, or maybe we can throw some more garbage management stuff over this way, but that should be good enough for the next little bit. So let's continue checking on some of our other ones. College, that's still waiting to be worked through, as we have a bunch of people eligible. High school and elementary school seems to be doing pretty well and just fine there. We are starting to get some people eligible for university, but we don't have that quite unlocked yet. We do have the development points for it, but I want to find a good spot for us to place the university before we begin to do that. Maybe it'll look cool on this island over here. Not too sure yet. Next, for our fire, I think we're pretty good. It starts to get a little red out here, but I don't think that's terrible yet. One thing we might do, if we find our firehouse here, is add a garage extension so that we can have more fire trucks out at one time. Although it doesn't seem to be a problem, as it says vehicles in use is 0 out of 4. So maybe we will just leave it. If we see fire becoming an issue, we can always upgrade that later. Police, same thing. Everything seems to be going pretty well. Our reach across the bridge is a little iffy, but it's alright for now. And then as for our parks and leisure, I think we definitely need something in this area. And we have nothing over on this side of the water, so let's find something we could place down. We have some landmarks, but don't want to place those down yet, especially since those are very expensive. So let's get a small park, and we'll just plop that down right about there. That should cover a good portion of the area. We could maybe get something over here. Maybe we'll throw down a plaza in this office zone. So that covers that area of the city. And then over here, let's place down some dog parks. So one over there, and another one somewhere over here in this residential zone. And I think that will pretty much cover everything we need for now. That should get development also jump started in some of these areas now that they have more services and features in those areas. So as we wait for some more demand to pull in on some higher density residential, let's continue expanding this area over here. And I think we're going to turn this little peninsula into a lot of low density residential so we can start to continue working on this demand that we have. So we have 8 tiles we can purchase, and I think we'll only really need 3 or 4 of them. It looks like that'll cover it. Hopefully this tile doesn't become an issue. If it does, we can always just purchase it, but I want to save those for if we need it somewhere else. So here's how our main road is going to come into this area. We just extended it from the industrial district over here right down and to the end of this little bit of land. So we'll build out a grid off of this street and pretty much just filled in almost entirely with low density residential and maybe a tiny bit of commercial to serve the area. Alright, so we have this area laid out pretty well, I think. So we can just simply fill it in with the exact zoning that we want. So we'll do a strip of commercial along like so, and another one on the other side. I think we'll just get rid of this little bit on the end here, and then we'll dezone these and pretty much turn everything else into low density residential. Alright, so we'll leave this area to fill in as our demand goes down. And it looks like we do have a little bit of terrain issues here. Hopefully once things build up, it won't be so bad. But we also want to make sure our commercial is building on the right street. Hopefully this doesn't tear up the ground too much. If anything, we can always just dezone these back couple of cells between each of these and allow for the land to change a little bit, sort of in a back alley way. So we'll come back and see what happens with this area, but for now I think it's time we add some services on this side of the water, since this area especially won't be able to be in reach of all of our services down in our main city. So let's get a fire station in right about here, as well as a police station. We'll get in on that curve. And for education, we'll plop an elementary school farther along down the road. We might need to move that in the future if we expand this same grid across, but we might use this road for some of the grid. We'll see. I don't think we need a high school over here just yet. Maybe we'll let some people work their way through the elementary school first, but we'll come back and reevaluate later. So it looks like we've had a traffic accident here. Doesn't look like anything too major, just looks like the car ran off the side of the road and hit one of these poles. So it also doesn't seem to be blocking traffic, which is nice. And I think we should have an ambulance and maybe police coming in soon to clear up the accident. So yes, we did have a police car come in and clear up the accident, and it looks like that car is just back on its way. So since we do have some industrial demand happening, let's just expand this grid out one more length and then fill it in. So let's try to get our grid to line up perfectly. There we go. And we'll just quickly fill this all in with industrial zoning. And I'm not going to put anything on this side just so it doesn't ruin the coastline. We might be able to throw some zoning sort of in that area, but I think that's about all that we'll do for that. So looking at this interchange here, apologies that it's dark, it's probably a little hard to see, but it does look like we're getting some pretty high usage of this intersection here, and I believe that's probably everyone coming from their jobs in this industrial zone and heading back home over in this area. So I think that with some public transportation, we could begin to ease a lot of this traffic that happens at this interchange. So I think now that we sort of have 3 different areas of this map, we could probably begin to add some bus routes throughout the city. So first, we need to place a bus depot somewhere, and I think we'll try to place that somewhere over here. If we can try to get this, well, maybe we'll build its own road right over here. So let's grab one of these alley roads and pull it up and then over a little bit so we can get this placed right about here. And we might have to redo the road and maybe even flatten out some of the land. Yeah, so let's level out some of the terrain right in front of the bus depot and then just soften it up a little bit so we get a nice slope when we come in through here. So I think this works out pretty well for our bus depot. And if we come into our transportation menu, it looks like we can now place bus stations, bus stops as either a sign or a shelter. And hopefully once we get those placed down, we can get some lines running throughout the city. So I think we'll run sort of 3 loops. We'll have one that connects this area, one that connects this area, and then one that sort of crosses this bridge on the highway and goes between the 2 small towns that we've created so far. So first, let's create a nice little loop that will start somewhere in here. Let's start it on this side, and we'll have it come over to this neighborhood, and at some point we'll need it to turn around, but then we'll have it turn over into this area and then come back around. And then we'll have it make a stop somewhere in this industrial area, probably right in the middle. And I think that will pretty much complete our loop for the buses on this side. And it looks like we can just right away create a bus line. So we'll just click all of these. We might need to add a turnaround area for the end of this line, or it looks like the bus will just do a U-turn on the road. That's fine for now because eventually we will complete that loop naturally with roads. But then we can have it finish the loop. And I think we'll also get one that runs the opposite direction as well. And then we'll work on this side of the map. Alright, so now we have buses running the loop in each direction. So now let's set up our loop over this way. And this one will be pretty simple as we unlock milestone 7. So we'll pause on that for a moment and take a look quickly at what we unlocked. Just some more loan limits, ore mining, which might be pretty interesting to get into later on, and gated community policy, which maybe we'll use, not sure yet. And so now we have a ton of development points and a ton of tiles to unlock. That one I think unlocked a good amount for us. But anyway, let's get on with this. So we'll add one to each side. We'll have another drop off right here for the industrial area, and then another one sort of right in the middle of this community. And this one I think can just be covered with one line. So we'll come through over to this neighborhood, and then we can complete the loop. Alright, and then as for our last line to connect all of these communities, we'll share this stop, and then we can loop around and share this stop, and then just bring it back to this bus shelter over here. So hopefully that works out. Hopefully we'll see people begin to use buses, and we'll have maybe a little less congestion in this interchange. And it's nothing too terrible, but if we can get on it early, we can start to prevent a lot of traffic buildup later on. So looking at our transportation overview, we can already start to see some people beginning to use the lines, as our usage is at about 3% for the ones we have in each little community. No one seems to be using the one to go between all of these just yet. Maybe we need another stop right here, so if we just grab this for line details, and maybe if we can find a way we can change the line. So maybe we are getting a good amount of people using it. Couldn't really find a way to change the stations for the line, so we might just have to delete the entire line and replace it, but we'll let this go for now, see if things change. But I think we'll leave that as is. And then as for this area, I think we'll put the zoning in. It probably won't get used too much, but we'll still get the zoning in this area for it. So I think we'll go with medium density row housing for these blocks. So we'll do like that pretty much. And then I think we'll get some mixed housing in these two cells, and then maybe just some more row housing in the rest of these. So hopefully our commercial demand can push some of our mixed zoning here in this area, as it looks like we have 2 buildings popping up. And we've unlocked a signature building. So, just taking a look at some of the signature buildings we already have unlocked. There's some mansions and some towers, and this one looks like it's probably just a row home, but I don't think we're going to get to placing any of these just yet. I sort of want them to be in their own sort of special places. Like, maybe we can have a really nice area where all these mansions go, or maybe these sort of towers become maybe like beachfront properties over on this side. We'll figure that out when we get there, as I don't really plan on using signature buildings yet. But I do think that that's pretty much going to be all that we're going to do in this episode, so if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.